So welcome everybody. This is going to be fun. We're going to have our first time on Zoom for these calls. So we'll be here every Wednesday. And so just hang on to that link, and at noon, we'll let you all in the room. So we're going to be, today we're talking about Tarot. And first of all, let me introduce well, I'm pointing this way because that's where Anna is on my screen. Anna's right there.
Yeah, in mine too.
Oh, okay. So let me introduce Anna. She's my wonderful virtual assistant, and she'll be helping to navigate this session today so she can take care of everything in the background so I can just play with all of you. So hi, Anna, welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's for me a pleasure to be here with you today. So we have a great topic to speak about today. We're going to talk about fun facts of Tarot. And let's get started, if you're right.
Good. Yes, we're talking about tarot cards. So I think, Anna, you had a couple questions for me to start out, and then I could teach. I've been doing tarot since 1967. First of all, let me just make a few comments. How many people have tarot cards? You can just kind of wave your hand. Okay. And so how many of you have had tarot cards, but they sit on the shelf because you really don't know how to use them? Right? So that was me for about the first 10 years that I had tarot cards. I would take them out, I would get them in my hand, and I'd say, okay, I want to learn about my tarot cards. I want to, be able to do tarot readings. And I would start, at the beginning of the book, and I would start reading about the Fool, and I'd go through all of that. And then the Magician, and then the High Priestess, and I'd get about there, and I would just go, oh, I just want to do a reading. So then I would just lay out a reading and then look everything up in the book, right? And so I did that for so long, and it just gets so tiring, and it's not very intuitive to do it that way because you're just reading every card, and it just takes a while, and it's that's how you're doing it. So eventually I found a teacher that taught me how to read, and now I've been doing professional readings for over 25, 30 years, something like that, and teaching tarot. And I have a class that I teach. We're going to tell you about that a little later. But it's really worth it to really learn how to read your tarot cards. I don't even know what life would be like if I didn't know how to read tarot cards. You can just turn to them for any kind of wisdom and insights, and you can use them to help you interpret dreams. You can use them to clarify messages from your spirit guide. You can use them to just take a look into, the motivations or the root cause of certain events and where it's going to go in the future. So you can use the cards for so many things. But anyway, I'll turn it over to Anna. What's your question, Anna, while I drink water?
Well, we have a further question that came from Debbie.
Oh, okay.
By email.
Question. All right.
And the question is about, she said she have a real estate client who is intolerable but won't move on. Do you have a suggestion or see an outcome for this relationship?
Okay, so actually I'm going to unmute Debbie so that, I guess I have to ask you to unmute, Debbie, so that we can talk about this a little bit. So I'm going to shuffle the cards.
Okay.
And we'll get a reading, and then I'm going to show you my different decks and some more things about tarot. But so when I'm doing a reading, I shuffle 3 different ways. One is the typical way that, like this, where you, like you would poker cards or you see in Las Vegas. The other one is like this, so that it's getting the top to the back, you're just like shuffling it that way. And then the other thing that I do is I twist them so that I can read the cards upright and upside down. So for me, reading the cards in both directions, upright and upside down, doubles my vocabulary because there's meanings for the reversed position of the card that you wouldn't find anywhere else in the deck. So it gives you a lot more availability to have meaning. So I'm just going to lay out a quick reading here. So to answer your question, first of all, it feels like there's an imbalance, of course, right? And you don't feel like you're getting what you deserve out of this relationship with this client, that they're probably not paying you enough to do the work for them. Right? So you're unhappy about this. So there's that. And your mind, instead of maybe focusing on work, is really, thinking of ways just to navigate this client. Is it a male or a female? I think
A female.
It's a female. Yeah, because there's men in this reading that are upside down. And are they men realtors that they've used before and gotten upset with or something?
There's been men realtors that have warned me about her.
That's what it is.
I guess that would be
yeah.
Trying to be protective. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you're hoping that this will have a pleasant outcome and that things will stabilize. This is a card I use for stabilizing the world, or the Emperor card. And he's upright. And this is in a position in the reading where this is what your favored outcome is. But really, she's just trying to get away with stuff. So it really is entangled. In the future, we have the Devil card.
Okay.
So
and I called her the devil's spawn last week.
Oh, no. Well, there you go. There she is. Okay. I don't think it's going to get much better, but so you're almost afraid to look at your options. So in the fear column, we have the Lovers card, and the Lovers is options. And so there's a fear of really looking at some options that you have. And the options may not just be whether you pass her on to another realtor or not, but maybe an option according to other people around you, and maybe even your spirit guides, the Sword reversed, which is to speak to her about things that are unpleasant.
Oh, I have.
Right. That doesn't work, huh? Like,
very toxic. She's very toxic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Yeah. And I don't know. I've kept it going just because we call people into our lives to reflect on things on our own. Usually people that are that challenging. And I've got a lot of insight and learned a lot. And I just want to end it, I think, but I don't know if she will. I've tried once and she won't go away.
You can't fire clients?
Pardon?
You can't fire clients?
You can, but she won't go away. And she bothers me from 6:30 in the morning till late at night, every day, almost. Like it's just gotten just out of hand. It's just crazy.
I'm just, this is interesting. I'm just doing a real quick other reading and we'll get on to some other things. But I was looking for the lesson for you, Debbie.
Okay.
And when we're looking for lessons, we're looking at the major arcana cards, because those are the bigger spiritual lessons. And this reading came up with 3 of them for you.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So the one at the center of this is guilt, your guilt, like you dealing with guilt. So you don't have to get into your personal stuff here or your deeper secrets, but look at how guilt plays. Like if she's playing the guilt card on you, or if you're buying into some kind of guilt, or it's triggering guilt from, some other situation
Okay.
and it's playing out with her, I would really look at that. Because it's, yeah, you're allowing her to trigger that. The other cards here are the sun, which is being playful and childlike and innocent and just, happy, having the sunshine all around you. And then the crossing card is the emperor. So the emperor was the one in the other reading as well,
Right.
remember?
Hmm.
You're hoping to be wasn't it that was your hope? Yeah, to have a stable outcome. Um, i- so here it's just showing, like, if it was a, like a how high, I hate to be sexist and racist and all that, but if this was a high-powered male executive,
Right.
would he put up with this BS, right?
No.
Right, and so this reading is calling you to step up to that.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's not the feminine side of you, it's the masculine
Right.
side.
Yeah.
It's like
So it's time
boundaries,
to get tough. Okay.
tough boundaries, don't answer the calls,
There's no
just,
such thing as boundaries here. But yeah.
oh, there you go. Okay,
But
so
okay, that's kind of what I wanted to know. Is it time to just, yeah,
it's just
really set it down? Yeah.
yeah, and it'll be a good exercise because it is a soul lesson. If there's no boundaries there, then that is a great lesson for you to have in
Hmm.
that
Right.
situation. Okay,
Thank you
awesome.
so much.
You're welcome. Good
That
luck.
helps very much.
Next week you can come on and tell us all how it
Yeah.
turned out.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is that the feminine side of that tends to come off as bitchy, right? So if a
Hmm.
woman has boundaries, she's a bitch, but if a man has it, then he's like an
Exactly.
awesome business person, right?
Right.
So you just step into the awesome business person
Okay.
persona and proceed from there.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So I wanted to kind of show you different cards. So um uh I don't know how many people have cards. You said some of you do and some of you don't.
Hmm.
So the basic or the traditional Thoth deck, which was Aleister Crowley's deck, has I I have the deck and I thought I would learn to read it, but I find it really difficult because um like this is Six of Wands. Yeah, Six of Wands, and it's just a picture of six wands. So you get no clue as to what they're talking about. You have to totally memorize the numbers and the positions and everything. And then there's this other wonderful deck. I have a whole bookshelf display of my tarot cards. Um, but here's the Seven of Wands in this one, for instance. So there's more of an imagery that you can um, pull together the idea of the reading. This one, and then he's got a bunch of German. This is a German artist called Rohrig, and he's got a beautiful deck. The images, the artwork is just spectacular, but they're huge, huge cards, so they're a little more difficult to work with. Um, and then you can get like into your interests. Like this one is the steampunk deck. If you like steampunk imagery stuff, so it's kind of and they all went on the floor. So you get the steampunk kind of images that are really cool. I haven't really used this deck so much, so it's really slippery. So just get those off to the side. But the deck that I always use is this one, and this is the one I teach with as well, and it's the Robin Wood deck. And she was this artist. She's up in the Detroit area, and I actually um, became friends with her and had dinner at her house and various things. And I love her artwork, and it really follows closely with the Rider-Waite, which is the typical deck. So the meanings are very similar, but she uses a lot of kind of Celtic design and a lot of intricacy and more hues of the colors instead of like the Rider-Waite is typically red, blue, and yellow. It's very primary colors. But she has a lot of very rich imagery there. She has also drawn a lot of covers for like fantasy fiction and things like that. So wonderful artist, multiple Sagittarius, if anybody knows what that means. She's like heavily Sagittarius. But anyway, what I recommend as you begin to learn how to read tarot cards is to get a deck that's very similar, simple like this, the Rider-Waite or something similar, where there's pictures that depict what's happening in the, as far as the meaning. You can get a lot more clues as to what it means and practice with one deck. Like I've collected all these decks just because it's fun and they're great souvenirs. But I come back to this one. This is my primary language, right? So learning tarot is like learning a language, just like learning astrology. So the tarot language I've learned, this is my English deck. This is this. Then when I branch out and use other decks, it's more like translating into French or Spanish or Russian or Chinese or something. And it's a little slower and it isn't quite as intuitive. So if you stick with that one deck, learn it really well, then that intuition is really going to build for you. So did you have another question, Anna? She's in Mexico, so there's
Yes, I do have one coming from Karen.
Ah.
You hear me now?
Yes, yes.
There's one in the chat and it's from Karen. I'm new here. She said, I'm new here, really happy to join. Welcome, Karen. We are so happy to have you here. She said, if Mary is taking questions, I'm curious about whether the timing is the right for making a major change in career. She's Capricorn Sun, now actually in Pisces Moon, Sagittarius Rising. Okay, I think this is another language for me, but I'm doing my best. So she says North Node in 8th house, Leo, and Chiron in the 2nd house, Pisces. So she's called to write a book, but leaving my day job to give me time for that is very scary leaving my day job to give me time for that is very scary proposition.
Okay, so let's look at that. And if I was doing a real reading, I'd be looking at the astrology chart as well. I've got it sort of in my head, but we'll just look at the cards here. Yeah, it feels like you've been trapped and the energy is right for you to break free. And part of this is breaking free from your own, I'll show you the cards. So this card is the 8 of Swords. And so notice how she's trapped or, bound. We use this for like an imprisonment and binding. And it came up in her reading this way, which is to break free of that. And it came up at the middle of the reading. So it's like the energy for the reading is to break through from these things that have been binding you. And oftentimes what binds us are our own thoughts. And so, having to have a breakthrough in the way that you're thinking about it. Now, you've been saving and kind of clinging to saving money, but also clinging to old traditional ways, which may just be staying in the corporate environment, that sort of thing. But it's kept you from having the life you really want to live. And Karen, you can also unmute yourself if you'd like, and show us your face too, if you'd like. But anyway, right now is not a time to be self-employed. So if that was where you were going with this, It's not quite the timing yet, but it will be. And it shows that there's some self-healing that needs to happen, and not in a medical way, but more in an energetic way, that is going to be required to make this happen, and some learning, but it's also going to feel very solo. Um, you're going to feel very, and Karen, can you unmute? I'd like, oh, you're at work. Can you talk though, Karen? And if not, that's okay. But so,
I can.
oh,
Sorry, it took me
oh,
a second to find the unmute.
okay, that's great. I think that because of the way it is, I have to ask you to unmute rather than me being able to do it. So you're afraid to just take that leap. Of course, that was part of your question, but it's also coming up in the cards. So in the fear section, I'm trying to get to the camera there. So the fear section is the Knight of Swords, and you can see how fast his horse is running. And this is the swords is a mental plane. So this is, you're afraid of that kind of leap and that kind of rushing into something different. And you're really hoping to find something that has equal, the equal pay and feeling like there's equality there. But your sights are set on moving on. I'll show you that card as well. So this is the Eight of Cups, and you can see he's moving away from a very valuable situation. Those cups are full, they're not tipped over. So the cups are full, but he wants to go higher on the mountain there. He wants to climb higher. And which really speaks to Capricorn too, because they're the mountain goat and they like to climb higher and higher. And so I would imagine is it true, Karen, that you want to be your own boss?
Well, I've actually done that, and I moved away from that 5 or 6 years ago to take a corporate job. I'm only 3 years away from retirement, and I wasn't happy with the bank balance. So it was a purely financial decision to do that, but it was also a nice break from the hustle of being self-employed. And you're right about moving up the mountain, Mary Lee, but it's not so much about the money right now. It's about being called to contribute something that's more spiritual and more on my my soul path.
Right.
And if I'm going to make this leap of faith, which I feel compelled to do, I want to make sure that the timing is right, because I'm going to be giving up something financially very rewarding.
Right.
But I can't write this book if I don't find time. And, I have to devote a lot more time to it than what I can while I have this full-time day job. So
Yes.
it's about timing. I know I'm going to do this. It's just a question of when. And I thought that the cards might give some indication of, whether now is a good time or not.
So there's been some depression. You've had kind of a low, either you have had or you will have had in the near future, a low period that you'll be coming out of. And I want to say in about 2 months, I think the stars are going to line better for you, or the cards are lining up a little better for you. You're going to feel a little more stable in your home, or just like having more stability. And there may be actually a source of income. I don't think it's years. I think it's actually months. It's coming up pretty quickly. And you're going to become aware of something that was around you or available to you, but you didn't realize. And so your eyes are going to be opened up to that. I'll show you the card. So this is not seeing the things around you, what I call the coma card, but hers is upside down, which means that she didn't see it, but now she's going to. But that doesn't come up for a little while. I want to say a couple of months at least. And then you get really motivated and anxious to do it. but it's going to feel like you're juggling two things. So I don't know if you're keeping the same job, but initiating the second job as a second job to begin with, and then bridging back over. I'm not seeing you actually quit. I see it more like adding on and then giving it up. Does that make sense to you, Karen?
Maybe.
Okay.
I guess the truth is I haven't thought about it in any context other than all or nothing. So it sounds like you're seeing maybe the opportunity to scale back my current day job to something less than full time, or bridging back into some kind of self-employed work. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, or evenings and weekends doing the other thing and building it before you just take the leap. Because the period of transition, I see you juggling both. So juggling two things. Now it's either a different position and the passion that you have, you know, that goal that you have, or it's the job you have and this new one. But there's a juggling before you actually just take the leap over.
That's
So
wow.
yeah, it's just another stretch, I guess, or just another way to look at those possibilities.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mary Lee. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for being here today, Karen. Okay, did you had some questions, Anna, about the difference between tarot and oracle cards? Something like that?
Yeah, I just want to answer a question from Eleanor. She said is if you are using Celtic cross spread.
Yes. I do use the
Okay.
yeah, pattern. Yes, the layout. Mine, there are little different versions of the Celtic cross. Some people do it differently. So every time you read a book, not every time, but oftentimes you'll see them laid out in sort of in the same pattern, but the way that they do it is different. And so I do it my way, but that part doesn't matter as long as you're consistent in the way that you lay it out. So if it makes sense to you, the way that you're laying it out, and you know the meanings of each of those positions, then just be consistent. Yeah. Okay. Were there any other questions?
Okay, we can go back to the last question. What is the connection between tarot and astrology?
Oh, okay. Well, they're both oracles. They're both ways of tapping into your intuition, looking into the future, seeing the roots, you know, the kind of the past leading up to the events of the day. Astrology uses a lot more mathematics and, of course, star positions, and it's pretty complex. We have to, when I first learned astrology, we had to have a stack of books. You had to have the ephemeris that would give you all the star positions for the whole century, and the sidereal time. And I had to use logarithms, which I had never learned in school. So suddenly I was using logarithms and calculators that I had used in school. And then you'd have a book of daylight savings times in every single county and country in the world, and you'd have to look that up. And you know, so it would take about 2 hours just to get a natal chart. Now I do it in about 30 seconds on a computer program, and so you know it just comes up. But so there's similarities in what they can do, but differences in how you apply them. I turn to each for different reasons. So, you know, for the cards, I don't know, it's maybe a little more specific for a specific question, and you can get, you know, some in-depth understanding really quickly. With astrology, it's more like looking at the energetic patterns and what the opportunities are or challenges that may come up in your life. And so then, you know, using it more in a general flow, I think. So I think there was another question here. Ashley Ann.
Yeah, it's from Ashley. She said she's wondering what advice her spirit guides have as far as business. She's been debating of doing a separate business with her art, along with opening her hypnotherapy practice. So she said, if I should look into doing more with my art or focus solely on my hypnotherapy practice.
Okay. So when I get a question like this, where there's two pieces to it, then how I approach that is I do two separate readings, one for what will happen if I pursue my art. Wait a minute. So doing separate business with my art along with, if I, oh, more with the art or focus only on the, oh, so I think the question is, do I only do hypnotherapy or do I do hypnotherapy and art together? So let me take a look at that. So anyway, that I would do as two separate readings. Like what would happen if she only does the hypnotherapy? How does that unfold? And then what happens if she combines that with her art? And Ashley Ann, if you would like to unmute yourself. Is there anything more to that question? Did I get it right?
No, you got it.
Okay. All right. And if anybody else has questions, even about the tarot, you can ask that. And also I have a training on teachable.com. I train people to read tarot cards like I do. And Anna is going to post the link there for us. So I was just asking in general, what let me shuffle again, because I think that I wasn't, it's funny because I'm not sure I was focused. So one of the important parts of doing a tarot card reading is focusing on the question when you're shuffling, right? Okay, so we're going to shuffle. We're going to look at what will happen if she combines the art with the hypnotherapy, because you know, that'll be the easier question, or maybe it'll reveal the most. So if she combines the two together. So what I do is I shuffle and then I divide the cards into 3 piles and then I put them back together and read them. So interestingly enough, you also have the 8 of Swords in the center of the reading. We saw this with Karen's reading, but with Karen, it was upside down. So here in the center of the reading, I am going to interpret that as meaning that you're limiting your thought processes. You feel bound by some way that you're perceiving this. Like, you know, there has to be either some rules or, you know, something, something's happening here. But you're the one that's blocking yourself, and by the way that you're thinking about approaching this topic. It shows, oh, interesting, in the past, the far past, and the base of this question is the High Priestess. So there's intuition, there's connecting with spirits and spirit guides. You know, I don't know, do you do tarot reading or intuitive readings, that sort of thing?
I don't, but I've been into it. I've watched a lot of YouTube and things like that with it. So
Yeah. So that intuition is at the base of this question, and it would be calling you to say that, you know, intuitively, you know what you want and what's going to sing to your soul. And, you know, the art part of this could be, you know, art, pursuing any kind of artistic pursuits actually generates energy. you know, back in the ancient times, we all remember being a female, you know, sitting in the reeds by the water and, you know, listening to the lute players and writing poetry, right? And that's what, you know, the feminine side of us, and in our feminine incarnations, that's a lot of what we do, and it generates energy. So my sense of this is that the art actually would generate energy that would help you with the hypnotherapy and promoting the hypnotherapy, and having the, you know, we have to get energy from somewhere, right? And this, it seems like, is being, you know, you're being called to do that. And you're, interestingly enough, in the very near future, you have the Five of Cups, which is the card that shows the guy is looking at his spilt wine, and he's got cups standing up, but he's looking at the spilled wine. Yours is upside down, so it means that you've actually changed your perspectives and are now looking at the cups that are standing up, right? So your attitude is going to get more positive and look at the bounty of what you have, rather than, oh, this might take away from my hypnotherapy, like it's subtractive. Now you're going to look at it as, you know, part of the bounty and the benefits that you have, so in a much better way. And I see a source of income coming for you. So I don't know if has the art been a source of income for you?
Recently it has been, because beforehand I wasn't selling any art, and then I had somebody contact me like a few months ago about it. So
Yeah. I do see the source of income happening, and so follow that, right? If that's working, follow it, and also do the hypnotherapy. They don't have to be exclusionary. Interesting, in this reading, we also have the Emperor once again. So 3 readings with the Emperor. So you're looking to find stabilization, to, you know, put your, you know, plant your feet, be a good business person. But in your fears position is the Two of Wands, which is initiating action. And it's the fear of initiating action. So what it's calling to you is, you need to just take a step. Has it been holding you back? Have you been kind of like frozen?
yeah, I have been, especially the past few months. I have been, there's just been a lot going on, and it's just kind of frozen me to just be more focused on other things.
Yeah. So over, you know, and that's this first card again, is, you know, feeling imprisoned or locked or chained or, you know, held in place. So what it's saying is, just initiate that action. Just do it. The money is there, it'll flow. And whatever you do, like however you do it, is showing to be a little bit temporary. Okay. And maybe that's a good attitude to go in with, because it feels like you think you have to make the decision before you take the action. And so what is your astrology sign?
Taurus.
I was going to say Taurus. It's so Taurus. Sorry if anybody's a Taurus. It's so Taurus. You're just standing there like the bull waiting, right? You just have, you charge, you know, just see the red cape and just start going, because you know, that stability is going to come because you're moving. And the reason I bring this up is that card of temporary. Like in my business, I just started, right? And then it's like, oh, well, this works, and so I'll keep doing it. This doesn't work, I'll quit, right? Instead of just sitting there and trying to figure it out and making sure it's all going to work first. I'm not saying this is the most practical way to do it, but just saying, you know, like I'll just initiate a class. Okay, oh, I'm just going to teach this class. Oh, nobody showed up. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. Okay, I'll do this. You know, this is working. Okay, so I'm going to do this, right? And then, but my whole career has been a series of open and closed doors. And so what the cards are saying is just follow the desire and follow the money. If the art is making you money, great. And you love to do hypnotherapy, add some clients in, just do it and see what's working. And if some part of that isn't working, you can adjust it. It doesn't mean you have to quit any of it. It doesn't mean you have to keep going. You can just say, well, I'm not going to do art for another month. You know, I'm going to take a break and I'm just doing hypnotherapy. Okay, now I'm going to bring art in again. Now I'm not going to do hypnotherapy for a month. I mean, you can play with it any way you want. All right. So for you, it's that lesson of flexibility and just taking action and going with the flow. If you're not in movement, you can't get anywhere, right? And being in movement is always going to take you off balance. And a lot of people think, oh, the goal is to be in balance. And the goal is never to be in balance, because if you're in balance, you're not going to grow. You're not going to make more money. You're not going to take a step forward. You're not going to move, right? And movement is like, even if you think of walking, when you walk, you're off, you know, you're tilting all the time, you're falling, one foot is falling and then another one, and you're always falling forward. And if you're in balance, you just got 2 feet on the ground and you're just standing there. So get off balance, start tilting and aim for the red cape.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Does anybody have questions about the tarot cards or the class, or any other questions about anything? Or suggestions for next week? Because we can talk about anything. So if you want to, if you have a topic, astrology, tarot, hypnotherapy, past lives, spirit guides, soulmates, healing, soul retrieval, sacred journeys. You want us to just pick, or you have a choice? Well, you can always email us or send us messages too. All of those. Karen says, okay, Karen, we're counting on you coming back then. Eleanor, about what past life?
Just basically any past life. I mean, can that show up in the cards? Like if you have a situation or something like you can't put your finger on it, like a fear of drowning, which I have. Could you ask, like, I don't know where it came from, and maybe it would show up in the cards?
Well, I would say 98% positive it's from a past life.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use that with the cards. I would, of course, prefer to do it with past life regression.
Yeah.
Get a lot more information.
Yeah.
So can we hold that for a past life?
I mean, I was just wondering, like, because a lot of people don't do past life regressions, but they do ask questions about past lives, and they ask tarot readers these questions. So I was wondering if that would show up.
Interesting. Yes. Yes. So 2 things I would say about that is that one thing is that when you ask somebody else to give you the past life information, it's like you asking somebody else to go to the gym for you because you want to get. Right? So the idea, and I'm going to answer your question here, but the idea is that you want to strengthen that muscle. You want to strengthen your own memory, because that's how you are going to preserve your consciousness and hopefully even expand it. But if you don't know those past lives, if you don't recall all of those events and experiences and wisdom and relationships and occupations and purposes and all of that, they're going to eventually just fade away and become nothing, and the result of the fading memory is the shrinking of consciousness. So it's really important. So I know you're a hypnotherapist. I have several of you who are my students here on the call today. So that would be important. But interestingly, I did the cards for you for that. And the central card is the 10 of Swords, which is the card we use for death. So you did die. Yeah, I would say you drowned in that lifetime. It's right in the middle of this. You might have been a man also, and it was kind of a spontaneous thing. I don't think you liked the water then either. But that was the end of it. So
Yeah. Interesting.
but
Because I
yeah,
love the water, but I'm terrified of going further than, maybe chest deep in the water.
yeah. Do the past life. I've helped people with past lives simply by doing the past lives. They were able to get rid of their phobias
Mhm,
just because they see it and they put it in perspective and they realize that that's not now.
mhm.
So yeah, you really consider doing the past life on that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was funny funny, tragic, but funny that in the middle of it is the card that comes up for death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
We
Uh,
have just one last question. It's from Karen, and Karen asking, do you use oracle cards?
oh, okay. So I have oracle cards. There's lots. I mean, there are different kinds of oracle cards. So I brought some out to show you. So the Creative Whack Pack. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's so fun. I've had these. I used to sell them in my store in the 80s in Ohio. I had a metaphysical bookstore. And so you'd pick a card. So here's one, find a pattern. And then they give you a huge write-up as to what it means, or don't fall in love with ideas, on and on. They just, ask why. So you would just pick a card and it would give you something to contemplate. And then they tell you what about it. There's other oracle type cards like these dream cards where you can pick a card and it's kind of hard to show you, but there are pictures and then I guess you would ask a question and then there are pictures where you can interpret interpret dreams and do different kinds of interpretations. So then another oracle deck I got when I was in Australia just before the pandemic. We were on a cruise in Australia, and these are really fun. They're Aborigine oracle cards with Aboriginal art and stories. So then you would pick one, like this one says ancestral stories. I know they're hard to see there. Creation. And then it has this Aborigine art. Sista stories. Sista. Dadiri. I don't know. A lot of them, then you look it up because there's no way that I was going to memorize all of this. But then they have a book and then it tells you a folklore story that goes with it. And then like a little oracle for you personally, like what it means when you pull that card. So those are really, really fun. So I do use oracle cards, but more for fun and maybe if I have a gathering of friends or something, and then everybody can take a card and talk about what it means to them and how it speaks to them. That's always fun. And then
She said if you can interpret reverse cards the same with oracle as with tarot.
you could. I mean, not with the whack pack particularly, because there wouldn't be really an upside down, but you could. I just don't use oracles as much for that. I just use it like a single card to represent something, and then you can look at it however you want. But you could do it upside. But I'm going to look on the Aborigine because I know there is an oracle deck. No, this one doesn't. I thought maybe it had upside down, but it's not it's not listing upside down on this deck. I think I've had a deck, I didn't pick all of them, where if you get this card or if you get it reversed or something like that, but yeah, yeah. You know, the thing with cards, oracle cards, tarot cards, is that you personalize it, you know. For you, if the reversed meaning of an oracle card, you know, has a meaning, if that's something you're going to initiate, then it's going to work, you know, because your subconscious mind knows that that's going to work, you know. And if it has a message for you and the reverse of that card is the card that would work, you know, that is going to deliver that message, then it's going to give you that card reversed. So, you know, I don't use them that way. So my subconscious mind probably doesn't go down that avenue. It would find a different way to try to communicate with me, like a silver hammer over the head or something. um, so, um, oh, Eleanor. So there are many decks that do have reversals, but not all of them. Are they oracle decks, Eleanor? Oh, they do have the reversals?
Yeah, there's and I noticed that if a deck has a reversal, it usually has a pattern on the backside that you can't tell which way's up.
Right. Yeah.
So but there's a woman called Colette Baron Reed. Oh, I think all of her decks have reversals, and she does strictly oracle.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess depending on how the pattern looks, you know, if it makes sense and it's different when you turn it upside down or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
you said, many people will not read reversals, no matter if the decks have it or not.
I know. And I find that with tarot, people will say, I don't ever read reverse cards because I don't want to ever see anything negative. And so, first of all, there are cards like the 10 of Swords that who did I do the reading? Yeah, you got yeah, the death card, right? When it's reversed, it's a lot milder. You don't actually die, right?
Mhm.
It's upright. So it actually improves with the reversal. The devil card would be the same, the tower card. A lot of these really negative cards actually soften when you reverse them. And yet they're saying, well, I don't want to have anything negative. But that's like, I mean, why would you do a reading if you're not going to also look for the negative? I mean, you can surprise me with good stuff all day long. You know, everybody's going to love me. I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to make a fortune. I'm going to have a good job. You know, okay, why would I need a reading, right? I just live that life. But if the cards are going to tell me something, tell me what to watch out for. Tell me, you know, you know, where I need to look over my shoulder or be more prepared for something.
Mhm.
For me, that's the benefit of using the cards. Why would you not, right?
Yes.
I did have a personal experience I'll share real quickly. I was on an airplane flying back here, I think from Palm Springs or something, because I used to do that a lot when my mother was alive. And I was on the airplane and we pulled away from the gate. And it turned out somebody was thinking they were flying to Alaska and somehow had gotten on our flight, which it's like, how do you get on the wrong airplane? First of all, there's some security. So we had to pull back to the gate and then he gets off. Then we start out on the runway and then we had engine problem. We had to go back to the gate and they were fixing and fixing. And there was a third issue. I can't remember what it was. I think they thought we were okay and we had to go back again. Anyway, when we pull in, they said, okay, it's going to be a little while, but we're going to fix this. And like half the plane got up and got off. They just said, no way, I'm not flying this. This is, a cursed flight. And I thought, what am I going to do? Do I want to get off and the hassle of getting rebooked because the other flights, especially in those days, they're all overcrowded. They're booked. It could be a day or two before you get out on another plane. And, I'd be giving up my good seat that I had chosen. And so I got out my pendulum and I got out my tarot cards and I thought, you know what? I am actually, if I believe in this, I'm going to do a reading and determine whether I'm staying on this fated airplane or not. And the cards said it's going to be fine, right? I can't remember what the cards were, but it just said it's going to be fine. And I put everything away and I sat there and I took the flight. And I lived. There was nothing wrong with that. So, here's half of the flight, half of the passengers got off, and they're, imagine the trouble and the stress. And then they find out, they were probably hoping we wouldn't make it just so it would justify their decision. But we made it. So anyway, that's, putting some faith in what you're doing there, I guess, huh? Any other questions
Yeah.
before we close today? I
I
think
think we don't have any question.
we're good. We're going to be back here again next Wednesday at noon, and we're going to come up with something fun to do. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll take your suggestions. If you have some questions, you can connect with Anna or myself and let us know, and we're happy to be here. So thank you, everybody, for showing up and being here. It's been great. I love being on Zoom, where I can see all your faces, except for Sally and Karen, who are shy. But it's just good to connect with everybody. And thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Marilee. Thank you, everybody, to be here today.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.